All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is right around 5 p.m. West Coast time. Gonna call it 2 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on that there East Coast, and 7 p.m. for our Central Time folk. I am Mad Statter today, and this is Chatter with Statter. Good to see we got some folks in the house already. Doesn't surprise me since I'm running just a lot bit late. I would have been on time. In fact, I was actually more on time than I've ever been before, and then I saw something literally right 2 minutes before and I was like, oh, I feel like we need to talk about that. And then I was like, oh, and I'm going to need a map for that. So I was late because I was getting a map. So let's see here who had to wait for stupid old map building Mad Statter. It looks like Shocks in the House letting us know what time zones are where. We've got Terry in Scotland with Katie's Aura. We've got Elaine coming in as well. Let's see here. We've got eMusic is here as well. Mama Sean on that there YouTube side. Actually, I do believe that Elaine's on that there YouTube side as well. DJ Smook in the house. Terry letting everybody know, happy, Mr. Happy. And let's see here, we've got Darlene, and let's see here, I don't see Rick yet, but Darlene's here. So I'm going to assume that Rick is a little bit safe. And let's see here, Mama Sean, we've been streaming the Hydro races on Lake Washington today. Feels like old home week. Yeah, exactly. For those of you who aren't familiar with this particular weekend in the Seattle area, it's our summertime festival called Seafair, and on Lake Washington they have hydroplane races, and they usually have the Blue Angels perform as well. I do believe there's been a couple years where the Blue Angels haven't shown up. But for the most part, Blue Angels and hydroplane races happen the first weekend of August, or right around the first weekend of August. So, yeah, and I guess it's streaming as well. So there you go. And, let's see here. Rick is just coming in. Excellent. Now, first off, don't get me wrong. I love it when Rick is here, but I understand that he's got other things to do. However, today, I am hoping for all of the gentlemen here who wear their beards and wear them insistently and proudly. I'm wanting you to be here today so you can see that you are not the only one, my friend. You're not the only ones who love your beards, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, we are going to get the party started. There we go. Boop. Hey, Mr. Lurker Puzzycat, good to see you. I saw Leo last night. He came in, ate up all of the leftover wet cat food, and had some chicken strips as well. So he was very happy to visit last night. And let's see here. Yes, very good to hear that you are feeling a little bit better, Terry. Every day, onward and upward, exactly. And Rick, don't you hate it when you have to fight with a robot to convince the robot that you're not a robot? This is where we've come to these days. Robots are asking us to make sure that we're not one of them. Whatever, Mr. Robot. I have adipose tissue on my gluteus. I make the rockin' world go round. You are just a robot, sir. Asking me if I'm a robot? No. And Sir Leo is the best. Exactly. All right, you guys. So we have got a lot of random topics that I have chosen to maybe discuss. But the first and most important topic is, hold on, I gotta get things so I can see some things. The most important topic basically is what I was talking about with with our men who love their beards and the women who love their men with beards, because beards can make or break a face, y'all. And I'm not saying that everybody is like this, but you might be familiar with, especially if you were here last night, you might be familiar with a gentleman named Jason Momoa. And Jason Momoa has a fantastic head of hair, a fantastic face of hair. In fact, he is known for his beard and his locks. And his beard, I dare say, makes him the man that he is. And if you don't believe me, let me just show you here. All right, so this is Jason Momoa. I think we can all agree, right? This is Jason Momoa. And he's wearing his vodka hat, and he's got a razor in his hand because he shaved his beard off, y'all. Jason Momoa has shaved his beard off. And are you for real, dude? He could shave his beard and walk around and no one would know who the he was. Are you kidding me? Is that the same man? Holy crumb, y'all. Talk about a beard making a look. Because, like, for real, you guys, if you're just like, no, that's not the same guy, I totally understand why you're just like, no, dude, that's AI. No, he really did. He shaved it off for a role that he's doing in Dune. He totally looks like Rob Lowe. He looks like his dad. I don't know. I think his dad is way better looking. He looks weird to me, y'all. I mean, and I'm not trying to like diss on one of the sexiest men in the world, but dude, grow that beard back as fast as you can. And I remember, because I didn't really know who Jason Momoa was until he like was very famous, like getting the Aquaman role kind of thing. I wasn't familiar with him in Game of Thrones, and I certainly was not familiar with him in Baywatch back when he was like 18. But I do remember seeing a picture of him when he was young in Baywatch, and I remember thinking to myself, that just doesn't even look like the same person. I can't even see how this guy grew into that guy, because this young buck, his face looks kind of weird. And now that the grown-up Momoa has shaved his face, once again, no offense, my friend, your face looks kind of weird. Weird in a very good way. It's not like he's bad looking. It's just, that is not the human. That is not... I'm just amazed at what a beard can do. And Amy's like, all your doctors shave during the summer. Oh, I would think so. I mean, it's just gotta be so itchy. And Shock, it's a lousy picture. Yeah, I think it's a still taken from... If you go to his Instagram page, he shaves it off on his Instagram page. So I think they're just still shots from his shaving it off on the Instagram page. So they're really, really crummy photos, but they really are legit. He apparently was in the original... Well, not the original, but... Okay. The remake of Dune that came out a while ago with Timothée Chalamet. Not the one with Sting, but the other later one. I guess he was in that movie as well. And the role that he has in that movie, he needs to be clean shaven for. And so now they're doing another Dune. And I guess he's reprising that role. And so he's got to shave. And all your doctors, well, all the doctors like their beards. Well, then why did they shave them in the summer? And let's see here. Rick, I shaved once back in 87 for a job tryout, and it was the worst few weeks that you can remember. Yeah. I'm for sure. And let's see here. Let's see. It is a lousy picture. And Pussycat, you're clean shaven. You just shaved. Nice. And so I just figured, when I was thumbing through my feed earlier the other day, I came across that, and it really took me... I mean, I know that it's not AI generated. I know that it is really him, but I refuse to. My brain is like, no, that doesn't look like the same guy. That's just not. No, dude, that's not him. But it is. And let's see here. Darlene, I prefer Rick with his beard too. He had for his job some rules about how long hair could be and how he and if he could have a mustache, if I remember correctly. But I don't think a beard was allowed. When he retired, he immediately grew the beard and let the hair go too. Exactly. And Shuck, another Dune. Apparently, yes. As I've heard via the removal of the beard. And Mitchie Mama, no, that's Wednesday. There's going to be no chat on Wednesday. A friend of mine is taking me on a little mini vacation to a random casino hotel in Tacoma. It's just such a glamorous life I live. I'm going down to Tacoma. And yeah, Pussycat, my wife says no beards or mustaches for her. That's definitely something that wives get to have a lot of say in, I have found. In fact, actually, I remember a conversation we were having on Andy Bumatai's show with Keone Nunez, and for some reason we were talking with Keone about changing up his hair or something about his facial hair or whatever, and he just laughed and he was like, my wife will not allow for any of this. So clearly Keone's hair and facial hair are the domain of his wife, not his. And your wife says no beards or mustaches for her, and she doesn't care for bald men either. Oh, well, that's too bad, because bald men are super sexy. And let's see here. Terry, I have developed some weird wrinkles in my chin due to excessive smirking. Trust me, I look better with a beard. And Rick, if I shave, I'd look like Jason Momoa. I'm going to assume Jason Momoa after the shave, right? And Mitchie Mama, have you seen babies cry after their father's shaved completely? Oh, absolutely, I have, dude. And you absolutely can understand why they do, because like Jason Momoa, these human faces are completely unrecognizable sometimes without their fur. I remember I dated a guy for about 6 months, and he had a mustache goatee combo, and he was bald. So like the only hair on his face was on his face. The only hair on his head, entire skull, was on his face. And I came over to his house, and he had just finished shaving, and I literally I knew it was him. Everything looked like him, and he sounded like him, but nothing about his face registered. He might as well have, what was that movie that Nicolas Cage played in, Face Off or whatever? He might as well have traded faces with somebody. He was so unrecognizable to me. Exactly, Darlene. There would be such a difference between, with Rick, between the beard and not. Yeah. And, let's see here. You have friends who are twins and their kids can't tell them apart. So does one of them have a beard and the other one not? Or do they? I feel like you're going somewhere with this story, eMusic, and I'm already trepidatiously stoked to hear what kind of shenanigans you might be telling us that those twin friends of yours pull with or without facial hairs. They have the same face. Yeah, most identical twins. Well, not really, actually. Some of them you can really tell the difference, oddly enough, even though they're quote unquote identical. But let's see here. So no beard, Jason Momoa. There we go. And hold on. Dogs and cats also get freaked out when their owners change their appearance with facial hair too. Oh yeah, no, Darlene, and another reason, yeah, it's not just dogs and cats aren't. Oh, so many thoughts. It's not just facial hair. It's not just facial hair that screws up dogs and cats. if a woman, or I guess a man too, but I've seen this with women, if they get their hair, like long brown hair, cut and like done blonde, like a total makeover, like absolutely, hair used to be long, hair used to be a different color, hair used to be a different style, of a total difference. When the dogs will freak out because, like, that's not, why is this weird woman coming into my house? And on top of that, it takes them a really long time to figure out that, oh, this is just mom. Because when the women go to all the salons and get all the boof-to-doos done with their hair, they smell. I mean, you know how different you smell when you come back from a salon, right? New shampoo, new conditioner, hairspray, hair product. You know, if you had some kind of coloring going on, there's some sort of chemical residue smell. Like, there's, you can even, at least for me, I can even smell how I smell different when I come back from a salon visit, right? So, I've totally, right, there we go. Yep, that too. Rick freaked out when I came back from the salon when I went to short hair. Yeah, oh, right, and it's, especially with the short, well, obviously you can't cut your hair long, so there you go. But yeah. That doesn't surprise me that Rick would have freaked out too. And nothing's wrong with Pussycat, nothing's wrong with being clean shaven. You're an Old Spice man? Excellent. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that Jason Momoa looks nothing like what you would think he would look like without his beard. That's all. I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, if he decided to go incognito, all he would really have to do is put his hair up, keep that tattoo hidden, and clean shaven his face, and, well, actually keep his tattoos all, but if he walked around just with that bare face and no tattoos showing, people wouldn't know who he was. I mean, maybe the way he speaks, but I don't know. I really feel like he could walk around for quite some time without people knowing who he was. And Terry in Scotland, my old boy dog, used to get sheared every summer. He would hide and shame until his coat grew back out a little bit. And Elaine, are twin fantasies cheating? Well, I'm going to say yes, but I am sure that there is a multitude of ethical arguments to be made in favor of either argument. But it reminds me, there's this show on Apple TV called Severance, and it's about this company that when you work for it, you are given an implant in your brain. So everything that happens in your work life is in its own compartment, and everything that happens in your out of work life is its own compartment, which means you don't know what you do in your work life when you are out of your work life. And when you're in your work life, you don't know what you do in your outer life. So you've got these two different worlds. And so then, if you're married up top in your real life, but you don't know it, and you cheat, and you have a relationship with a work person, is that cheating? There's they explore these topics basically in the show. And so your question about twin fantasies cheating kind of reminded me of that show. And all of the ethical intricacies, as it were. And exactly, Darlene, some men totally look better clean shaven. Absolutely. And let's see here. And then Mama Sean, I do the long hair, or the hair thing all the time. Went from long, straight blonde to athletic spiky when your eldest was a baby. And he looked at me crazy. Current went from shoulder length to jaw length bob. Dr. Steve never knows what I'll come home with when I go to the salon. Or color. Exactly. That's nice, though, that you play with your hair, because some people get really, really freaked out over any kind of hair change. And even though I prefer and am growing my hair longer, I know that if for whatever reason I had to cut it off, I'm not going to freak out because it will grow back. But I've had some of my friends who, they've got like waist length hair, and then for out of a whim, they'll be like, I'm going to cut 6 inches of it off. So it's still super long, right? And they cry because of because their hair's so short. It's like, oh, honey bunches, it's going to grow back. And, Darlene, that's right, Darlene, you are a twin. So here we go. Twin fantasies are a bit creepy, in my opinion. Example, there was this one guy in high school that lusted for either me or my sister. He was willing to go out with any one of us, being twins. We were look-alike twins. Right. Yeah, that seems really dehumanizing, because it's like, well, clearly you're not interested in us or our personalities, or it makes me me and what makes her her. You're just interested in the image of us. And like, here, why don't you just walk around with a cardboard cutout or a blow up doll instead? And Shock, you think you're gonna chop some hair soon? Nice. I need to get a hair trim, but next time I get a hair trim, I'm going to go to a curl specialist, because I've never gotten my hair cut with someone who specializes in curls, and I'm hoping they'll know what to do with my frizz, basically, is what I'm hoping. And Rick, I have no doubt in my mind that it was not you. I'm fairly certain that guy didn't get play from either Darlene or her sister. You had long hair in high school, but had headaches, so I cut it short. Gosh, I felt I would float away. Oh, wow. You must have a lot of thick hair in order for you to have headaches from it being long. But even someone like me who does not have a lot of thick hair, like my ponytail is really only about that big, It's really not big. Even when you get a lot of hair cut off, your head feels like it's about 8 pounds lighter. It feels so light. And in your case, it might have been like 8 pounds lighter. And that, I think that's, yeah, I can totally imagine. I totally imagine how it would feel like your head's just going to float away. And eMusic, when you change to a curly hairdresser, what a nice difference. Yeah, I feel like I want to get more, I want my curls to stay long, but still pop a little bit, And so I don't know how to ask her. I've asked her a couple different times to layer it, but it's not, it's just, I don't know if she doesn't know how to do it. I don't know if the pictures I'm showing her aren't right. I don't know if I'm not explaining it right. I just have a feeling that a curly specialist might be better. And your Okinawan with buku hair that weighed so much. Yeah, your ponytail is probably like that big. Yeah, totally. My head feels relieved for you just imagining getting all that hair cut off. And let's see here. Boy dog was half German Shepherd, says Terry, half Chow. He looked like a red wolf. My neighbor Lyndall Barry and I were the same age. We would never fight because Boy would break it up. Yeah, well, and you don't want to fight with Boy. And Mitchie Mama, you had 2 kids in the cafeteria named Jackson and Maxon. One was fair, the other brown-skinned. I didn't know that they were twins until a teacher told me they were in different classes. Right, there you go. I'm assuming, though, that they weren't identical twins. I'm assuming they were fraternal twins, I'm guessing. And unless there was some weird genetic thing that made one lighter than the other. And Elaine, that was in high school, but now I'm 75, almost no hair. No worries now. Ah, that's funny. And ooh, Darlene coming in. We liked your haircut you had when we visited you this last time. All right, we were just surprised for short. Interesting. All right, well, I'm gonna have to really look into this whole curly hair specialist kind of haircutting situation. and Mitchie Mama, they sort of looked alike. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, fraternal twins can sort of look alike too, though. We had a set of fraternal twins in the year ahead of us in school, and even though they were fraternal, I don't know, dude. They told me they were fraternal, but they kind of looked they weren't identical. You could tell them apart, but at the same time, I was like, are you sure you're not a little bit identical? A little bit identical? Hey, Broken Soul, good to see you. So far, we're not really talking about much of anything except for facial hair and what a difference it makes. In case you don't know, Jason Momoa shaved his beard, and now he doesn't look like Jason Momoa anymore. And before you accuse me of photoshopping it, I don't know how to Photoshop. And before you accuse me of saying, hey, wait, that's not Jason Momoa. It actually is. He shaved off his beard for real. And this was the end. Whoops. That was the end result. And yeah, that's basically all we've been talking about so far. So you haven't missed too much. And let's see here, Mama Sean. Oh, my boys looked almost exactly alike as babies, except the oldest one was a lot fairer than his younger brother, but otherwise Dr. Steve can't tell the littles apart. Nice. And Darlene, your youngest, has the really thick, heavy buku hair like you had, Elaine. She says when she gets her hair cut, it's like a weight being lifted off of her head and neck. Yeah, well, seriously, as someone who's had long locks cut off into dramatic shortness multiple times in my life, even my tiny little only weighing 2 ounces on a soaking wet makes a difference. And yes, I am in mourning for the beard. I am and I will not be watching the Dune series. Okay. Pardon me while I crack open a fresh one. Not being sponsored by LaCroix, although I would love to be sponsored by LaCroix if LaCroix had any such sponsorships. All right, you guys, so I'm not going to be watching Jason Momoa's Dune 4-way, but Rick saw a funny YouTube video with Momoa and a couple English guys at Zippy's eating everything. Yes, Rick, I saw that the other day, and it is so flippin' funny. Jason Momoa is such a sweaty, messy eater, and the British guys were in love with all of the Zippy's food. Rick, if you can throw a link up so other people can see that video. I don't remember I don't even remember what the English dudes that Jason Momoa is eating with have their own YouTube show, and I think it's like called Jolly Roger or Jollies, or I don't remember, and that's why I'm hoping Rick can throw down the link, because it was so cute to watch them all eating together, and actually it was really funny because it was really funny. Okay, the guys brought their assistants. I don't remember who these guys are. And the guys, whenever they needed something, they would just be like, and then their assistant would bring them the thing to the set. And so Jason Momoa started to do that, and his assistants were like having none of that bull. And the things, though, that they were able to summon randomly were vinegar and Guinness and this, that. It was such a cute. Oh, it was such a cute video. Such a cute video. And Guinness first, says Rick, exactly. And you were just typing this, Rick, at Zippy's and got Guinness brought in. Yes, exactly. And Elaine, I just watched Chief of War 2 episodes right now. So good, beautiful scenes. Gotta watch. Absolutely, Elaine, we actually all... Oh, you know what we did? We forgot to put our background music on. But we also watched Chief of War last night. Both Terry in Scotland and I streamed the first 2 episodes He did it from 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. and then I did it from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. And yes, super, super amazing series so far. And for those of you who don't know what this series centers around, people think it centers around Kamehameha, which it does to a degree, obviously. But actually, it centers around this gentleman named Ka'ai'ana. And he is, for the most part, in modern day historical parlance, just a footnote within the history of Hawaii. But actually, at his time, during his era, he was the most well-traveled, well-known, internationally recognized Hawaiian on the scene. He is the important backbone, and he's the important character behind the rise of Kamehameha. And so, in fact, actually, I've got this thing. I watched this, and I can't. I don't remember. I can't remember. Can't remember what the link is. I'm gonna find it for you guys because it's a 15-minute long synopsis of this true gentleman's life. But I'm not gonna. But be forewarned. If you watch that 15-minute video, you will have the whole Chief of War series spoiled for you. It will tell you what's going to happen and what is going to happen, how and who is involved. Like it tells you it's nothing but spoilers. Then again, if you already know the history, then you already know the spoilers. But I want to share with you the first 2.5 minutes of the of that particular stream. And thank you, Rick just threw down the Jason Momoa Fed Us Hawaiian Comfort Food link. It's a YouTube link, and because Rick is a moderator, it should be hot for everybody. So yeah, feel free to click on that if you want to watch Jason Momoa get all greasy and sweaty while he eats fried chicken. But this right now is about a 2.5 minute synopsis of the true story of the character that Chief of War centers on. So let's see if this will work.
At the turbulent crossroads of revolution, colonization, and betrayal. Born into Hawaiian nobility, Ka'ai'ana distinguished himself from both his peers in both presence and bearing. British explorer Captain John Meares, who encountered him in the year 1788, described him as 6 feet and 2 inches tall, with limbs of Herculean proportion. Meares further remarked on Ka'ai'ana's regal demeanour, noting that he carried himself with great dignity, having lived in the habit of receiving the respect due to superior rank in his own country. He possessed an air of distinction. Ka'ai'ana's life was remarkable not only for his stature and status, but also for his bold ventures beyond the Hawaiian Islands. In the wake of Captain James Cook's fateful arrival in 1779, Ka'ai'ana joined British expeditions, travelling to the distant shores including China, the Philippines, and the northwest coast of America. He became one of the first native Hawaiians to journey abroad with Western explorers. His travels captivated the imagination of Europe. Books published in London in the years 1789 and 1790 by Captain Nathaniel Portlock and Captain John Meares recounted Ka'ai'ana's voyages, featuring full-page engravings of the striking Hawaiian chief, in his feathered cloak, helmet, spear in hand, the very image of strength and nobility. By the early 1790s, Ka'ai'ana's name was known across the Pacific. Ka'ai'ana is often remembered for his journey to China, as when he returned home, he came bearing weapons and ammunition, an act that significantly bolstered the military campaigns of Kamehameha I, who would go on to become the first king of the Hawaiian Islands. Though his life was cut short, Kai'ana left behind a vivid legacy. He features prominently in native Hawaiian oral histories, and no fewer than 12 European visitors wrote of him during the final decade of his life. For a man whose name is now seldom spoken, Kai'ana remains one of the most fascinating figures of Hawaii's historic transformation. This is his story. Kai'ana was born
buttons. So that is just the first little 2.5 minute intro to another, the 15-minute video about his entire life. Oh, god dang it. Thank you. I had to turn on, anyway, yeah. I don't think his name is on anything of significance. No, he's... You're probably correct, Mixie Mama, and if you watch the 15-minute show about him... Oh, am I still echoing? No way. Am I still echoing? Okay. Am I still echoing? Okay, cool. Thank you. Alrighty, so... Okay. Michimama, I don't think his name is on anything of significance. He dies at the age of 40, first off, so he didn't live that long. And if you do watch the 15-minute synopsis of his life, you, there's probably a reason why his name isn't on anything significant. We'll just leave it at that. All I know is, I feel like knowing what I know now about that character and what he did, his role in the history of Hawaii, I can't think of a better character to create this story from. He ends up having access basically to all of the kingdoms, all of the parties at play. And his role in arming the islands, all of them, is unquestionable. Did Hawaiians consider him a traitor? Well, I guess, Michie Mama. Depends on which ones you ask. So, and honestly, if you watch that 15-minute video, it's spoilers to a degree about what we're gonna see on Chief of War, but to me, it only makes me want to go, oh my god, I cannot wait to see how this unfolds, because there are plot turns and twists and things that you just like, wait, what? And so, yeah, it's just, to me, finding that YouTube video with the history of him, I am not, like I said, it contains spoilers, so if you are somebody who doesn't want spoilers, then do not watch it. But if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily mind, like I really don't, it's full of juicy info. And so, Trail Dust, good to see you. We are right now basically talking about Chief of War, Jason Momoa, beards, etc., etc. And I don't know if you were here with us last night at Map Statter. Ooh, that was a good pop. Map Statter's Secret Squirrel Cinema. We watched Chief of War, the first 2 episodes. Terry in Scotland also streamed Chief of War, the first 2 episodes yesterday. And so we were basically focusing heavily on that. And I've got a couple more things that aren't necessarily Chief of War related, but they were Chief of War inspired. And that being said, Lono Listening Break is happening in about a minute. And this song that was chosen for Lono Listening Break is a song that Lono wrote as a joke, or not really as a joke, but there is a gentleman on Molokai, and Lono is convinced that this gentleman, or a version of him, probably exists on every single island. This gentleman insistently insists that he is Mo'i. He is of the Ali'i. He is of the high-ranking chiefs. His bloodline goes directly to the important people. Now, this particular person might not be considered higher class by the way he's necessarily living at that moment. And so, yeah. So, without further ado, here is Lono's song, Mo'i Boy.
Alright, Mo'i Boy, Molokai. Got some land over here, got some land over there. I'm my father's great-grandfather's only living heir. When those lawyers find me, things are gonna change. I'll be sitting up there with the governor herself, sipping on champagne. Cause I'm Mo'i Boy, Molokai. If I wasn't so Mo'i, you could look me in the eye. Go and check your genealogy, 'cause that's what you gotta do. You could be here sitting next to me. You could be Mo'i Boy, that's right, I'm Mo'i Boy, Molokai. If I wasn't so Mo'i, you could look me in the eye. Go and check your genealogy, 'cause that's what you gotta do. You could be here sitting next to me. You could be Mo'i too, that's right. You could be Mo'i. Mo'i Boy.
All right, there you go. That was Mo'i Boy. And and the link that I just threw down there, that is the link to the 15 minutes 15-minute show about the true story of Ka'aiana, the character that Jason Momoa plays in the Chief of War series. And Darlene, many standing next to Jason looks little, says Darlene to Mad Statter. Excuse me. Yes, indeed. But here's the deal. And hey, Sue Honda, good to see you. Here's the deal. With someone of my size, not necessarily height, I just mean size in general, to feel tiny, you really have to be a massive person. Not only is he 6'4", but he is like built like he's 8'10". I mean, like, he is just yeah, nothing but feeling tiny in that guy's presence. Annie Lane, your grandson is 5'10" and looks down on us, but he said, gosh, I had to laugh. That's so cute. And let's see here. And Mama Sean taste testing some ube ice cream for dessert. Found it at Trader Joe's. All right, you'll have to tell us how it works, or how it tastes. And yes, very solid, very muscular, very, very much. And for those of you who need convincing about how solid and muscular he is, just check out the very first scene of Chief of War, when basically he and his family are out on the water and they decide to catch a shark And yeah, when I say catch a shark, I don't mean like on a hook. I don't mean like with a spear. I don't mean like far away. I mean like they put a rope around the shark's neck and caught it and rode it, kind of thing, right? It's a little bit terrifying. And you'd like to think that that's just a stretch of the imagination. That's just storytelling license. But no, actually, Native Hawaiians used to do exactly that. And you can think to yourself, that is awesome, dude. I, however, am never, ever, ever gonna need to use that skill because I just don't go into the deep water where the sharks might be. And this is where I'm coming in to tell you, oh, you're so sweet. And that's not true. Because here's the deal, y'all. Here's the deal, y'all. Sharks don't just hang out in salt water. Sharks don't just hang out in deep water. There are sharks in freshwater. There are sharks in freshwater in states that don't even touch salt water. There are sharks in states, in freshwater in states that are 3 or 4 states away from freshwater. And here's some fuel for your nightmares.
I am so sorry in advance for those that I'm about to traumatize, but this is a wild one. The other day, a lot of you got really worked up about the video I made about the giant catfish in the lakes in North America, but that's the least of your worries if this summer you planning on hanging out in the creeks and rivers here in our great states. So guys, you might know that I'm an animal expert, and my animal love and journey started off with sharks, and that's what we're talking about today. What if I told you that the events that inspired the movie Jaws did not happen in the ocean, but they happened in a creek in New Jersey? That's right, in Matawan Creek, New Jersey, it happened 11 miles away from the nearest ocean. This wasn't some creek that was just butted up to the ocean. No, this was 11 miles inland. 4 people were attacked in Matawan Creek. 2 actually did end up losing their lives. And this all happened really quick. This chain of event was just one big feeding frenzy that happened 11 miles upriver. And it was only in 3 feet of water. So at the time, everyone just assumed that it was a great white shark that was responsible for the attacks. But if you guys study sharks like I have, y'all know that it was the bull shark. The shark that is the most notorious for going up in freshwater. Now you might be thinking Matawan Creek was only 11 miles away from the nearest ocean. I live in Oklahoma. I live in Kansas. I'm nowhere near an ocean. This can't happen to me. Wrong! The bull shark that was found by being caught on a rod and reel, the furthest away from the ocean, was actually caught in Montana. That's 3 states away from the ocean, 1,100 miles up freshwater. Bull sharks, in fact, have been seen in tons of states that don't touch the ocean, including Illinois, Mississippi, Missouri. And while there hasn't been any bull sharks seen in Oklahoma in the wild, the Jinx Aquarium in Oklahoma has the biggest collection of bull sharks of any aquarium in the world. In my last video, tons of people got mad when I said that the possibility of a giant catfish more than 200 pounds existing in North America isn't the case. They got so upset saying, I've been in the Mississippi River and one 12-foot long swam right next to our boat. There's a good chance you must identify a big old bull shark, because pretty much anywhere in the Mississippi River, you do have the possibility of interacting with a bull shark. And that means any creeks and streams that are diverging off the Mississippi River. And that is a humongous system. Now, I'm sorry for scaring you, especially now that it's getting warm and everybody's hitting their favorite swimming holes nearby. Now, I won't even scare you anymore by talking about how far orcas have been found up freshwater. That's for another video.
Okay, first off, orcas actually don't go in freshwater. That was a joke. But everything else he said is very true. And not only is it true, just to give you an idea, like for real, this is what the Mississippi River watershed encompasses, okay? So if that bull shark goes in at the Gulf of Mexico, it can, in theory, go up the Mississippi, and then go up that there Missouri all the way to Montana. In fact, that's the only way it's going to get to Montana, because even though Washington, Oregon, and Idaho are between Montana and the closest ocean, That's not the way that shark got there, because there's a whole 2 sets of mountain ranges between that, and the Rockies is one of them, and they don't get to the other side of the Rockies by coming from the Pacific Ocean. You can only get there going through the watershed, the Mississippi watershed. And so this is the Mississippi watershed right there. Now, this is another little bit more detailed Mississippi watershed with all the tiny little rivers and things that are off of and including and run into the Mississippi watershed. And then this is all the watersheds within the continental United States. And you'll see that big old pink zone, that is Mississippi watershed. The next watershed over, that's the next biggest in the country, is that orange watershed. That's the Columbia River watershed. But that divination, that divide between the orange and the pink, that's where the Rocky Mountains lay. And on the pink zone is where Montana lies. And that is where the bull shark was caught, which means the bull shark had to travel up the pink rivers, not the orange rivers. And the pink rivers are but the orange rivers are like only 2 or 3 states away from that water, the salt water. But like I said, you didn't go through the orange, you went through the pink. And that's how many states? Mississippi goes north, no, see Honda, Mississippi goes south. At the top of the mountains, at the top of the border there, at the top on the northern end of where that pink is, all of those rivers flow easterly and southerly to eventually get into the Mississippi. So all that light blue flows into the Mississippi. The Mississippi flows south. Does that make sense? And hey, Mariana, good to see you. We're just talking about how you can find a bull shark, a shark that can kill you because they're big and they're a shark. How they've been caught in freshwater in Montana. And I don't know if y'all can see where Montana is, but it's basically at the upper left-hand corner of this map, where the light blue, most northernly, light blue to the left, that little river area, that big river area. Yes, but the shark goes north. Exactly, yes. Against the current, basically. But yeah, the Mississippi basically divides our country almost right in half, from north to south. The water flows south, but the shark swims against their current. And then more detailed of the river system, and then most detailed of the river system. And for those of you who were here at the beginning of the show, where I mentioned the reason why the show was late is because I was gathering a map, let me just make it clear, those were not the maps, okay? It's a whole different set of maps we haven't even seen yet. Those maps were already scheduled. And I know, Elaine, it's amazing and it's terrifying. And I can only assume that bull shark was just like, I think I made a wrong turn at St. Louis. I really need to think about heading back to the homestead. And let's see here. Yeah, and JBCP13, good to see you. Yeah, it starts in the north. Exactly. Now, Terry in Scotland is saying, do you see where the Mississippi passes by the Atchafalaya, swamp? The river wants to go that way, but the Corps of Engineers is trying to control it. All right, we're going to have to revisit the map because I don't know what you're talking about. Here we go. And then I don't really know which one's the best. Oh, okay, wait, yeah, so. Okay, whoop, no, all right, here we go. Okay, so this, I guess, is what Terry in Scotland's trying to say. Interesting, and that totally makes sense. So it looks like there's the Red River. Oh, that's where the Red River, right, okay, the Red River goes into the Atchafalaya, I don't know how to say that, y'all. The Atchafalaya swamp, which is just to the west of the Mississippi River, and the river naturally wants to go through there, but the Army Corps of Engineers makes it go through New Orleans. Now that's interesting. I wonder why they chose to do that. I'm sure there was a reason. And you were born in the county the Mississippi starts in. So that's way up there in Minnesota. It's where you must have been born. Yeah, the main Mississippi headwater is in northern Minnesota, right? Yep. Although I find it totally fascinating that the Missouri River, its headwater is actually in Montana. And it's so bizarre how it goes so far north and west of the Mississippi. And let's see here. One in Texas and the one that flows north through Manitoba. Interesting. I did not know that there was a Red River in Canada, but not at all surprised, to tell you the truth. And so, yeah. So those were some of the maps that I was planning on showing you today. And let's see here. Oh, wait, hold on. Did Kenny from the Cove come in here? Oh, hey, Kenny. Yes, Kenny from the Cove. It did. Not Kenny from the Cova. Kenny from the Cove came. Hey, Kenny, good to see you. And yes, we were talking about Chief of War, and we're talking about sharks, and we're talking about beards and how different people look with or without them. And Terry, historically the mouth of the Mississippi whips back and forth like a fire hose. That makes sense. My geology professor at Odessa College said the Corps of Engineers was just fighting a losing battle. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like, why don't they just let it go where it wants to go? But then again, lots of people want to live where it wants to go, I guess. And what feeds the Mississippi? Is there a mountain there with lots of snow? Well, let's take a quick look here back at the maps again. Let's go back to the map room, shall we? Boop. The Red River in the Dakotas, oh, that's the one that goes to Manitoba, is a big flood problem and it flows north. I'm not surprised that the Red River in the Dakotas is a big flood problem because the Dakotas are pretty flat. And so once water goes over the banks, it goes over the banks. And let's see here, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Yeah, you know what? I don't really know. I'm going to go out on a limb. You know what? Actually, I can't tell you what the headwaters are. And maybe Trail Dust can, because he's from there. He knows the terrain up there a lot better than I have any idea. Trail Dust up in northern Minnesota where the Mississippi starts, is there like some hill country? And so like, yeah, just what Rick is just lots of land area feeds it. Okay, and so Trail Dust, no, the Mississippi starts at Lake Itasca, a swampy, wet area there. Okay, yeah, so it starts in a lake, probably from an some sort of spring or whatever, underwater, water seepage, right. And as far as the Missouri River goes, and I'm gonna say probably the same thing for Arkansas, those rivers are, the water comes, that's the watershed from there begins with the Rocky Mountains and the snow melt coming off of the Rockies flowing to the east. And we can probably get a better idea here. Yeah, so that divide between the orange and the yellow, that's literally known as the Continental Divide. And so on the pink side, that'd be the east side of the Rockies. On the orange side, that's the west. And so it's just snow melt from the Rockies up there. Yeah, glacier fed Rocky. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's where the Missouri is starting, and the Arkansas as well too. You can see it's coming off out of Colorado, and Colorado's, as I'm sure you know, in the Rockies. And then it looks like the Ohio River and the Tennessee River, they're coming watersheds off of the Appalachian Mountains. And then I'm gonna guess that the Illinois one probably starts in some kind of lake is sort of fed by one of the Great Lakes, but I really don't know what I'm talking about there. But basically, the Mississippi is the lowest center point that everybody drains into. All the other big rivers drain into, and it becomes the largest watershed in the continental United States. And like I said before, the second biggest watershed in the continental United States is the orange part, and that is the Columbia River watershed. And that's up in my neck of the woods. So yeah, there you go. That's my guess on where some of the lakes and rivers start for Mississippi. But we've got for sure the Mississippi starts at Lake Itasca. I'm so glad that we have a communal brain here where we can just be like, hey, Minnesota brain, come tell me this. And Minnesota brain's like, hey, I just got here right in time. I've got this information right here. And then I can say, hey, wait, and I know about this little piece, and I can guess about that one. So there we go. And Kenny, why does that sound like the beginning of a folk song? Up in Minnesota, where the headwaters of the Mississippi begin. Well, I don't know, my friend. Sounds like maybe you better write that there song. Better write that there song where we get along through the Mississippi Valley, they say. Tennessee brought us power, but that was for an hour till I don't know anything else to say. Let's see here. The Colorado River Basin is almost as big as the Columbia. Yeah, but the Colorado River Basin. Oh wait, hold on. But the Colorado River Basin, the Columbia River. Let's try this one more time. The Columbia River watershed goes beyond the United States. It also goes up into Canada. So it's actually a little bit bigger than on this map. But yeah, I have no doubt that the Colorado River Basin is very close. And we have to fill in where the sock puppets fall short exactly. Which brand of coffee have I been drinking? Yes, exactly. Yeah, the Mississippi gets fed water from a lot of sources, which is why it ends up being the biggest watershed. And yes, no naked sock puppet theater. And Kenny, which Colorado River are we referring to when we say the Colorado River Basin? Well, I am going to assume I don't actually know, because I was getting the Arkansas River confused with the Colorado River. And the Colorado River, now that I think about it, that flows west. And so we are not looking at that river basin on this particular map. So let's go to this map. And I actually have no idea. That's a really good question, Kenny. It's the light green one. That's the Colorado one. Okay, that does kind of make sense. And yeah, that is pretty big, but like I said, the orange one goes up into Canada as well. Kenny from the Cove, there's a Colorado River that runs through your neck of the woods. Oh yeah, no. No, we're not talking about that one. No, we're talking about the Colorado River that feeds Los Angeles and is basically responsible for giving water to every state and city that has none in the dry West. The Colorado River, yeah, I think Las Vegas can thank the Colorado River for having water. I think, yeah, it's isn't the Colorado River what goes through the Grand Canyon? Or is that the Colorado one that goes through the Grand Canyon? Am I making that up? Anyone? Okay, the Colorado River is the one that goes through Grand Canyon. Right, that's what I thought. Yeah. So yeah, Kenny, no, we're talking about two very different Colorado rivers. So yeah, no, not that one. Not that one. And also, actually, when I say the biggest, I'm not necessarily sure they mean in land area. They mean the amount of water is what they mean. So the Columbia, because the Columbia is considered the second largest river after the Mississippi in the terms of how much water it handles. And the Mississippi undeniably handles way more water than the Columbia does. Way more water. Even at its widest and deepest, and the Columbia is wide and deep, it is a baby stepchild of a different entity than the Mississippi. Mississippi's huge. I will give Mississippi the respect that it deserves, okay? I might be a West Coast fan, tried and true, but I am not going to diss the Mississippi, okay? No, you're not going to mess with my Columbia pride. That being said, I will bow down to the queen that is Mississippi, okay? I mean, when you're beat, you're beat. There's no two ways about it. So there. But, okay, so what I did start the show a little bit late for was something, and this is the map that I was searching for, or not the map, but we'll see the map in a minute. Earlier today, y'all, did you hear? A volcano in Russia erupted on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Does that sound familiar? The Kamchatka Peninsula? What else happened at the Kamchatka Peninsula not but a minute ago? Yeah, that huge earthquake. And are they suspecting that it's related? Yes, they are suspecting it is related. And it is erupting with a 4-mile high plume of ash. This literally is happening as we are speaking. And well, frankly, I was kind of disturbed, and but I also wanted to figure out, wait, where did this thing happen? Well, here's where it happened. Yeah, here's the map, okay? Here's the map. So the little red X, that's basically where the volcano is. And then you see that little red X? Yeah, that's basically where the earthquake was too. So, yeah, and so I had to grab this map when I read about the eruption. So yeah, the eruption happened, and Darlene, wow, there has to be a connection. Yeah, and shock, not unexpected given all the seismics. Yeah, and they are absolutely assuming and presuming and guessing and calling it a total connection. So I'm hoping that that will help literally and figuratively release some pressure off the system, which means there will be a few less earthquakes and risks of earthquakes around here on my neck of the woods. That being said, earlier today in the Puget Sound, we did have a 2.7 earthquake, and 2.7 isn't that big of a deal, but it was epicentered in the Puget Sound, and what that is problematic to me because first off, that's where I is, and second off, there are a ton of fault lines that crisscross the Puget Sound, and once that starts trembling, that's when I get a little bit more worried. Like, Mount Rainier can rumble and tremble all it wants, and I honestly don't really care that much. I mean, I care in the sense that it will completely ruin the freeway infrastructure and prohibit, goods and supplies from getting to Seattle, but I will be fine. But when it comes to a Puget Sound-based earthquake, well, now that is a seismic activity along those fault lines. That's where my selfishness comes in and goes, no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So, and they don't have a sheltered deep water port for their nukes without that base. Yeah, exactly, Shock. That's the one thing about Russia that they really, really, really lack. They have a lot of land, but not a lot of deep water ports that are accessible not 24 hours a day, but 12 months out of the year, because so much of their coastline is very, very frigid. And you want to live in Hawaii with all of its earthquakes? Oh, well, actually, music, it's not the very good question and point. It's not the earthquake that I'm afraid of in the sense that it's the earthquake. It's that depending upon which fault line, because there's a lot of them in the Puget Sound, like the Seattle fault line, the last time it erupted, it literally had from the north to the south. Okay, let me rephrase that. The fault line goes east-west through the Puget Sound. Right through Seattle, literally. And the northern side of the fault dropped, and the southern side of the fault rose. All in one event with a 21-foot difference. So it's not so much the earthquake I'm afraid of, it's the type of and severity of the earthquake. And the ones that we get in the Puget Sound, if and when we get them, are generally cataclysmic. They're not just a little bit of a thing. It's a real boom release point kind of thing. It's like a Jack in the Box kind of thing. They really, a lot of pressure and then pressure release. So, whereas the earthquakes in Hawaii, I've never heard of, well, I mean, I have, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, the earthquakes in Hawaii I'm more afraid of the VOG in Hawaii than I am the earthquakes. And, yeah, exactly. And China wouldn't mind relieving them of any and all of that coastline. Exactly. Let's see here. It looks like the East Coast had some earthquakes. That honestly is kind of weird. The East Coast earthquakes to me, are way more disturbing than any earthquake on Mount Rainier. Like, earthquakes happen on mountains. Like, earthquakes happen on volcanoes. That happens. But, like, New Jersey doesn't get earthquakes. What the flying fork is going on in New Jersey? And, right. So, yeah, Hawaii doesn't have the fault lines. Right. That's the difference. It's like volcano earthquakes are one thing that are notably terrifying in their own way. But as I think it was Rick said, a 6-inch ground change would break off all of your utility connections. Exactly. And they're mostly thrust faults in the Northwest, mostly strike slip faults in California. True, but luckily or unluckily, we have a good baker's dozen, dealer's choice. Yeah, like you said, most are, but we get both kind, and so does California. And wow, shock, we had like 4 of them, earthquakes about 10 years ago that rolled my office chair around with me in it. I had that happen once when I was in my office. I was on the phone talking to a client, and suddenly, like, I heard noises, and the building started to shake. We worked right next to a steel refinery, so like loud noises wasn't really unusual, but this was a different loud noise. I had thought that one of the steel trucks, the trucks with all the rebar, had like hit our building, but as it turns out, no. It was just an earthquake, and but that was still terrifying because you're like, you're on the phone with a client, and no one really tells you when you're being taught in office etiquette, like, what do you do in case you're on the phone with a client during an earthquake? Is it acceptable to say, "Oh, holy shit, I've got to go, bye," and dive under your desk? Is it acceptable to just drop the phone without explanation and go under your desk? Is it acceptable to, or are you expected to stay on the line the whole time and reply calmly, I think we're experiencing an earthquake here. If I get disconnected, please note that I'll call you back as soon as possible. You know, what am I supposed to do? I've never been taught earthquake protocol in an office situation. And Elaine, earthquakes that go side to side are not as damaging as the up-down ones. I can concur, although sometimes you get a little bit of both. The last earthquake that was really major that I remember living through, I was on the toilet, of course I was, and it started out as boof, 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 but then it went into and quite honestly, I don't know which one was more frightening. There was none of this, though. That would have been, I think, less frightening than the boom, 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 or the brrrr. And you know, I'm on a toilet. And not only am I on a toilet, I can't, like, I'm in a moment that, like, you really don't want to get up off the toilet either right now. Like, because I wanted to go underneath the door, but at the same time, I'm like, I really don't know if I should get up and go underneath the door. Yeah. And let's see here. Kenny from Cove, you can spot a left coaster by their use of the phrase, oh, just an earthquake. Yeah. And Terry, the Anchorage quake in 64 was like pulling a diving board and suddenly letting it go. It was a shaker. Right, exactly. And that is, those are the West Coast nightmare, you know, earthquakes that we're all afraid of. I believe that was the type of earthquake that happened in Kamchatka earlier this last week. When you're looking at an 8.8 earthquake, I think the Anchorage one was what, a 9.1 or a 9 point something, and then the one in Chile, and I think in the 80s was a 9 point something. Yeah, all of those, all of those big magnitude earthquakes are all the sudden lift, sudden drop, pressure point, da-doing, da-doing, da-doing. And yeah, the Anchorage quake killed 174 people in Hilo. Right, that's so crazy. Although, you know, I have to wonder what the landscape is what the seascape is right before Hilo that makes Hilo seemingly so susceptible to getting tsunamied. But that's neither here nor there. And I shudder to think of what an earthquake can do to a commode with a person on it. Serious nightmare fuel. Indeed, Kenny. How about this, though? So, I once hit a house in my car. Hit a house with my car, and I happened to hit the house on the outside wall of the bathroom, and on the other side of the wall where I hit the house was the toilet of the bathroom. And the lady who was sitting on the toilet in the bathroom of the house that I hit with my car happened to hear a really weird noise. And then she was like, that's a weird noise, and she got up off of the toilet, which was a good thing, because the next thing that she knew was the toilet popped off of its whatever, and went flying across the room, through the wall into the hallway. And had she been riding it, she probably would have been dead. And that really would have sucked, because then I would have had a dead person on my conscience when I already had a house that was on my conscience. So yeah, talk about nightmare fuels. Like, how did she gets to heaven? How did you die? Well, I rode a toilet through a wall. I didn't have that on my bingo card list. Riding a toilet through the wall? Explain to me how that happened. Well, there was this girl. She was trying to... yeah. And And let's see here. Rick, Hilo has a deep water valley pointing right up to it. Okay, right. That, yeah. All right, that makes sense. Because here's the deal, dude. There's a lot of factors that come into making a tsunami. And so when you hear that alert, you know, the more I'm thinking about that alert that Hawaii got a week ago, the more angry I'm getting at it, because it's like they knew that the risk was not the same everywhere. And so I really feel like they need to start taking into consideration different areas of the islands that have different seascapes, which make them more or less, I don't know. There's, Hilo, it sounds like with Hilo, if there's a tsunami risk with the seascape out there in the water, Hilo is at risk. But I really find it hard to believe that, you know, the Napali coast on Kauai, which, by the way, was marked as a tsunami risk, I really find that hard to believe that there's any tsunami risk at the Napali coast. Those cliffs are thousands of feet high. Thousands of feet high. Thousands of feet high. And there's no coastline. Nobody's living on there anyway. So you're telling me that there's a risk there? There's no risk. But whatever. And Kenny from the Cove just saying, I would immediately surrender to any enemy force, foreign or domestic, that fires a toilet at me. I am not equipped to defend myself against weaponized porcelain. Precisely. Just sort of how Welcome to Toilet Rodeo with your host, Molly. Precisely, it was a toilet rodeo, and I really am glad that no one participated in the toilet rodeo. And yeah, E-Music, that has to be one strong barrier to help protect the stuffs from happening. I don't believe that I can only believe, though, that barrier can only do so much. I mean, let's get real. Tsunami is the force of nature, and we're just but piddly little ants, right? All right, so let's see here. What else did I have? I had, I think, one more thing for y'all. Oh, I did have one more thing for y'all. Okay, so for those of you who are on my Facebook page, you might have seen a picture that I posted about this. And you might have thought, oh, this is funny or cute or a little weird, when really it's none of these things. It's kind of bad. But the way that toilet rodeo is going straight into the Standard Dictionary. But the way one of these people describe it couldn't be more Pacific Northwest. But ultimately, this whole situation could not be more Seattle. And so, I guess we're just gonna welcome. Oh, E-Music, I was saying, the barrier to Hilo for the tsunamis, I can't believe that it would work in any way because Mother Nature's just too big. And Dr. Steve said you only have to ride it for 8 seconds to get your points. Good point, Dr. Steve. Good point. Now, this, though, totally different story, but this is totally true. It's happening in Seattle, and I don't know. I guess we just have to ask ourselves, you know, who let the dogs out? Or are we going to continue to keep our dogs out? Yeah.
Some residents in Ballard are dealing with an unusual situation after some wildlife decided to stake a claim at a home on the block. The new additions to the neighborhood are causing chaos from below and above. Fox 13's Jennifer Dowling has the details of the situation that has neighbors on edge.
Sabira, these unwanted guests have been looking in windows and spying on residents from high in the sky. It's making many uncomfortable, especially because lots of pets call this area home.
Jones Avenue Northwest used to be a quiet residential street where kids play outside.
Ooh, good job.
And daily dog walks often turn into social hour.
Did you see the video I sent?
Yeah, with it yelling.
However, some new summer squatters are disturbing the peace.
We heard them yesterday at 5 a.m.
And for what neighbors tell Fox 13, they're real animals.
The coyotes have definitely been the disruption of our entire neighborhood for 2 weeks now.
Miranda Dubé says this pack of coyotes settled in at the house next door, quickly becoming the loudest neighbors on the block. But she said she was most shocked by what happened next.
But this is where we saw them.
The Wile E. Coyotes, she says, took their party to the rooftops.
They were just right up there on that roof, sunbathing.
And on any given day, she says they can be caught catching rays on top of the house and shed. They've also been peeping in her windows and backyard from above.
So we've seen the coyotes running from underneath this kind of tree here, popping up over here.
The chaos has continued below with raids on refuge bins, some even taking a whiz in yards as neighbors look on.
Not super comfortable with it. I mean, people have pets that are susceptible to, being a snack, and there's lots of small children around.
With the coyotes acting like they own the place, the raccoon family that once played in Miranda's yard has disappeared. And with kids like her daughter Stella so young, she says it's nothing to toy with.
We don't ever let our eyes off of her anyways, but now it's like we don't even want her within, without being 3 feet close to us when she's playing out front.
Neighbors say the coyotes have also been following them on walks.
For the most part, they are not scared of us. They follow us with our pets.
Melissa Fedorchenko says coyotes were watching Timmy, her corgi, from the roof this weekend.
We want him to stay just as he is. Yeah, in one piece.
She also has a small child, which prompted her to make this sign to warn others.
It says, caution, coyotes are in backyard ahead.
Even Miranda's 2 big dogs don't seem to deter the rooftop residents. Neighbors hope the new high-altitude additions are evicted before someone gets hurt.
I think that they just found kind of a vacant lot, or what they thought was vacant, and made themselves at home.
And neighbors tell me they've tried yelling at the coyotes or throwing things at them to scare them off, but they appear unafraid. The property owner says he just fixed a fence today that he believes will stop the coyotes from returning and has also put down some deterrent. Neighbors are hoping for the best. Back to you.
Neighbors are hoping for the best. Yeah, I bet. Absolutely. See, and this is the difference between North Seattle and South Seattle. Ballard is in North Seattle, and they're full of very nice people who do what they're supposed to. So they called, animal control, they called the news, they called the everything. I promise you, if this happened in my neighborhood, and there was some yard that was overgrown enough that the coyotes came in and then they were on the roof within good shot, there would be no coyotes in the neighborhood anymore. Okay? They just would not. No cops would be called. No animal control. Just your uncle with the rifle. Okay? But in Ballard, they're just like, well, I'm not super comfortable with it. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm not at all surprised, C. Honda, your friend is moving to Escondido and saw poop on the sidewalk. She thought it was dogs, but it was from coyotes. Yeah, I gotta say, when it comes to the Escondido, just anything Southern California sounding, it's like, oh yeah, there's coyotes there. Oh yeah, your coyotes. Yep, your coyotes are there. Yep. Exactly, Shock. The 4 a.m. shooter would get them, absolutely, and no one would. And even if he did it, to quote someone we are familiar with, even if he did it in front of everybody on Fifth Avenue, nobody here would say a thing. So, and let's see here. Coyotes have seasonal reproductive cycle that is closely tied to environmental factors and their biological needs. The breeding season typically occurs between January and March, with the exact timing varying by geographic location. During this time, females come into estrus, which lasts for 2 to 5 days, and males become fertile, producing sperm only during this period. Interesting. The female coyote is monestrous, meaning she only has 1 breeding cycle per year. Oh, that's kind of nice. All right, so let's see here. Elaine, yes, they do have a pack mentality. Coyotes generally do run in packs, and so, yeah. And Dick received that were bears in Carkeek Park back in the 60s. Oh, not at all surprised. And actually, I wouldn't, honestly, Dr. Steve, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bear in Carkeek Park to this day. We've seen bears coming from like Vashon Island and swimming across the Sound to Des Moines and then just like disappearing into the woods. I have no doubt in my mind that in the 60s especially there was bears, but I've seen bears just off of I-90 in Renton not but a few years ago. So, and I mean, Renton is, I know that nobody here but Dr. Steve, Mama Sean, and I know what we're talking about, but Renton is not exactly rural backwoods area anymore. But, all right, you guys, we are 5 minutes past the end of the hour. Terry and Scotland's giving me 1,000 biddies to shut the flying fork up. It's time to wrap things up. So, hopefully we will see each other on Tuesday at Andy Boomatide's Daily Pigeon Live, and then we will see each other again next Saturday for whatever movie. I'm not sure what. And exactly, Darlene, they're always around, just not in the open. That is exactly it. But next Saturday is going to be the next time we'll see each other, and then the next Sunday after that, we will have a chatter show again. But this Wednesday, you're free to do, well, you're always free to do whatever you want on Wednesday, but this Wednesday, it's double it. All right, you guys, have a good one. Hopefully we'll see each other Tuesday.